So what I wanted to talk about this week was getting started with Zero Dark and what you need. So I wanted to bring you in and show you a few of the things that you're going to need to get started with Zero Dark. So that for two reasons. First of all, I hope this will show that Zero Dark is quite easy on the timed table process, that you can get going quite quickly. And secondly, I'm going to look at things that you need versus things that you might want. And then that shouldn't take very long. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move straight forward onto getting set up for a game. So you can watch me mess it up live. Okay, so the first thing you will need is a playing space. And if I bring you down a little bit so you can see mine. So you will need a playing space. What I've got, I'm very lucky that I do have a 4-foot by 4-foot table that is permanently set up in my studio, which is really good for me. But I will point out that this is a 4-foot by 4-foot space. This mat I have laid out here, which is from gamemat.eu, just in case you're wondering. All of these mats are from gamemat.eu. This is actually a 3-foot by 3-foot mat. And the reason I have set up a 3-foot by 3-foot mat is because I like playing on 3-foot by 3-foot. And people say, well, why are all your rules 4-foot by 4-foot? Well, because that's what the game is designed around. But when I play, I've written the game for a market, for an audience, for people, and not just for me. I prefer to play on a 3-foot by 3-foot because I tend to play the games quicker that way. I think if I was playing PvP, I'd probably prefer to play on a 4-foot by 4-foot. Don't get to play a lot of PvP yet, looking forward to in the future. Okay, so playing space. I've laid some terrain out. Actually, ideally, I think, for this show, I probably wouldn't have laid anything out. But you can see I've got 3-foot by 3-foot mat. Right, okay, let's bring you around a bit and then you can see what else I got going on here. So this little stuff here is kind of, this is the what you need pile. Let's see if I can bring that up because then you can more or less see me. So there is actually one more thing that you will need. Okay, so you will need some rules, but you don't need these rules. Of course, you could get the PDF of the rules and they would be just as good, but you will need some rules. Okay, so need some rules. I've got a notebook here. This is my snazzy Precinct Omega notebook. Precinct Omega notebook is a little bit of an exclusive thing for patrons. I have got 4 or 5, I've got 7 left, of which, I'd kind of like to keep a few for myself. But I have literally just sent one out to a patron today. So if you are a patron and you'd like a notebook and you haven't got one yet, let me know. I always do little scribbles and drawings inside them for people who buy my notebooks. But you'll want a notebook. Need a tape measure. It's a miniatures war game without a grid, so you'll need a tape measure for measuring and stuff. You will need a normal deck of playing cards. Need a pen for the notebook. You'll need some D12s. I've just got a random selection of D12s here. I've got 7, which is usually enough for most purposes. So I've got 7 D12s. And I've got some pennies. I used pennies when I was developing Zero Dark, just as a reminder that there was something there. And you can flip it on the side, so you can go, that's wounded 1, that's wounded 2, wounded 3, wounded 4. Yeah? So you can remember wounded. If you put a third one down, it's also targeted. And you don't necessarily need to paint them or colour them or have them any different information because they're just there as a reminder. If you're playing solo, you're going to remember you've got your hero down, that hero's wounded 4 and targeted. They're in a bad place. There's a story around that hero you're not going to forget. So pennies work for the vast majority of purposes that you need in a game of Zero Dark. And the last thing you're going to need is some heroes. Now you may say, hey, what about the Red Force? Yes, I've got my Red Force is over here, out of shot. But actually, when you're just getting started with Zero Dark, you can easily use counters. Use 2 pence pieces for your Red Force. You know, use tail side for grunts and head side for elites, and then a 50p piece for a boss. You know, that kind of stuff. It's very easy to get started. So other things that you might like to add. Dice tray. Again, Precinct Omega dice tray. This is a one-off exclusive, but we'll talk about that later. Dice tray. So dice trays are great for rolling your dice in. You don't roll a huge amount of dice in Zero Dark, so rolling in a dice tray is a good idea. Other things you might like. Hero cards. Okay, so I have made these special hero cards. So they describe each hero on the back, so you can have a selection of hero cards. Show you how you can get started. I sell these, but you don't have to buy them. You can do this in a notebook easily, or you can design your own. Put them on filing cards, or come up with your own design. Reading the rules, come up with your own design, send it off like I did to a business card company, and get some of theirs. But if you do want these are £1 for 10 on precinctomega.co.uk. £1 for 10. £2, you've got 20. It's all the hero cards you're likely to need for a year. Yep. Okay, hero cards. Good to have. Counters. Now, as I've said, pennies are fine for the vast majority of purposes. You know, pennies are gonna suit you fine. But I have produced counters. Now, at the moment, these are only available for my patrons. They are a download you can get from the Patreon. They will print off on a specific kind of sticker printer paper, and then you can stick them to, in this case, 13mm MDF circles, which is what I've done. And they're designed to be, for the most part, double-sided. So if we pick a good example, support token. So you've got support token with 1 thumbs up, 2 support, 2 thumbs up. Okay, so if you want 3, just add another one on top. 4, nobody gets 4 support tokens, but there we go. So there we go. So they're double-sided support tokens. We got down and dead to distinguish between those two on either side. Stunned 1, stunned 2, the double stunned symbol. What others? Wounded's the obvious one. So wounded 1, wounded 2, wounded 3, wounded 4. All that kind of stuff. So they're useful. They're mainly only recommended if you're going to play PvP. It's good to have clear indicators of what stuff does. But counters, they're a useful addition, but they are not essential. Next thing that I'd say is useful is different coloured D12s. It is good if you're playing PvP. Obviously, it makes an enormous difference. But even if you're playing solo, it's good to be able to roll, you know, heroes dice against bogeys dice or whatever it might be. Yep. So 2 different colours of dice are useful to have. Last of all, I've got one of these. It's an Army Painter. Can you see that? Yep, there it is. It's an Army Painter line of sight indicator, and that certainly can come in handy, especially in a versus match. It's good to be sure whether or not you've got line of sight, and that's the Army Painter one. They are quite hard to get hold of sometimes. They go in and out of stock ever so quickly, but if you get one, get one. What was the last thing I had on the nice to have thing? Oh yeah. So this is actually made out of Lego, but this is an objective marker. So it is nice to have a nice little modelled objective marker alongside the rest of your minis, so that you've got somewhere that is clearly the objective. You don't have to. You can, of course. Just use a penny, you won't forget which one it is. That's most of what you both need and might want to have to get going in Zero Dark. And I sort of throw that out there, both as a sort of an introduction to go, this is what you're going to need if you want to play, but also to say it's not complicated. You know, the stuff you need is minimal. And you may say, well, I've got to get the Red Force out, I've got my heroes, and I've got my hero cards. Yeah. But compared to a lot of miniatures games, the amount of actual stuff you need to get started is intentionally small, and I've tried to write it that way. Not only small, but also I hope to try and make it as accessible as possible, so that people on any kind of a budget can get into Zero Dark without feeling like they've got to spend and spend before they even start rolling dice. Okay, so let's talk about actually getting started with a game. So I have got my notebook, but I'm not going to use this today because we have got some hero cards. So let's use some hero cards. Okay, so we've got a character. Let's take a character. We've got this miniature. This miniature is from Hassle-Free Miniatures. She's called Widow. If you like Hassle-Free, she is clearly inspired by Major Sam Carter from SG-1. And I quite like this mini. She looks very military. She's got some kind of scanning device in her left hand and a submachine gun in her right hand. And what are we going to do with her? Okay, we're going to call her Widow. She is cylinder 3 because she's a regular sized human. So we'll just pop cylinder in 3. So now with these 4 stats, she's got 15 points to spend between mobility, fight, acuity, and discipline. She doesn't look like she's going to be slow. Okay, so I'm going to go in with mobility 4 because that seems about right. I think most of my characters end up being either mobility 4 or 5. 3 often if it's only a slow or heavy character. So then we got fight. She's only got a submachine gun, but it's not just about firepower, it's also about accuracy. I'm thinking that she's going to emphasize more heavily over here, so I'm going to give her a fight of 3. So out of 15 I've got 8 left, so I could split that between 4 and 4. If I was going to make her a medic, a doc, or an EWOP, electronic warfare operator, I might want to go strong on the acuity, but on the other hand, discipline is what helps people move silently and quickly, and it's what counts in hand to hand. Tell you what, let's just put 4 in each one. It's a nice, very, very standard stat line there. 4, 3, 4, 4. AV has a default of 1. AV is armor value. You've got a default of 1. Every hero has 1, and you can upgrade that to 2 without spending any points. So you can just decide they're going to have an AV of 2. And you might say, why would I want to not have a higher armor value? Well, the answer is that, in fact, you might even want to have a lower armor value because armor value influences how well you can climb and how well you can get over terrain. But I don't see this as being that kind of battlefield. So let's give her armor value 2. And last of all is Firewall. Firewall is protecting you against digital attacks. Now, in a solo game, you do come under digital attack once in a while, but not very often. So everybody's got a default Firewall of 1, and I'm inclined to stick to that. I'll just keep her at a Firewall of 1. Okay. However, having written all those down now, then I get to add upgrades. And I say I get to add upgrades. You don't have to add upgrades. And this is an important point to make, you know. If you're just getting started with Zero Dark, you might want to leave upgrades alone entirely, just while you're learning the game. Some upgrades are easy to remember, some upgrades are harder. The easiest upgrades to remember are simple upgrades. And simple upgrades are you can spend up to 3 of your upgrade points just boosting any of these stats. The stats can't go lower than 2 and they can't go higher than 6, but you can boost these with up to 3 points and call them an upgrade. I think I'm going to give this group 2 upgrades each, and I think I'm going to give this one, I'm going to give Widow an upgrade in, do you know what, I like Angel. I like Angel. Dale, you win. Okay, Angel it is. We're going to call her Angel. Lovely. Okay, acuity or discipline or fight. What do you think, guys? Where should I put? I'm going to give her 1 named upgrade. I'm going to make her an electronic warfare operator. And I'm going to add 1 to one of her stats. Which stat do you think I should add 1 2. Come in, I'm going to make her an EWAP, so I'll put a little tick in the EWAP box down there. If I wanted to give her any of the other upgrades, I could write them into the box. If we're playing a campaign, I've got XP over here for the campaign. There is actually a rather nice design for these that a fan posted on the Facebook page, on the Zero Dark Facebook page, that are pretty cool. I would even suggest hiding this. Okay, we got Sasha. Sasha says Acuity. I'm going to go with that. First one in. Okay, so we've done Angel. Brill, let's look at our next one. Okay, so the next one, different manufacturer again. This guy is a limited edition Ariadne Spec Ops from Corvus Belli, Infinity the game. He has got a pistol and a knife and lots of pouches and some good armor and a gas mask. Now I do have Respirator as an upgrade option. I'm not going to use it today because it's really mostly relevant for the PvP game and we're just playing solo today. What could I call this guy with his spooky gas mask? He looks like a sneaky assassin, stab in the back kind of a guy. While you guys come up with some suggestions for that, I'll pop his cylinder in. It's going to be 3. I am going to make him a spook. He looks spooky. He'll be a spook. And he's going to have AV2 and Firewall 1. Gabriel. There we go. And Sasha says Spectre. Oh, okay, well Dale got his choice last time, so we're going to go with Spectre. I like Spectre from Sasha. He is Spectre. He's a spook, and spooks, of course, get to manipulate the control deck based on their discipline. So they get a good reaction to their discipline. He also looks really sneaky. So I'm thinking he's going to be quite high on the discipline so that he can sneak really well. But I don't know whether he needs to be fast particularly. I'll tell you what, I am going to give him the stealthy upgrade rather than giving him a simple upgrade. Yeah, so we're going to keep his mobility down at 4, but we're going to make him stealthy. Okay, so we've spent 9 points already, which leaves 6. So I'm going to, I'm going to go Acuity 2. He's not that smart. So it means if he gets wounded, he's going to be in trouble, okay? Because he's only got 2 dice to spend on fixing himself, and he'll lose them if he gets wounded too much. But I want him to be a fairly hard hitter. So we've got 8, 7, 15, and we've spent 1. No, we spent 1 upgrade, 2 upgrades. There we go. So he's a stealthy spook. Lovely. Okay, Spectre is done. Our last hero. I'm only playing with 3 heroes in this. Our last hero is this miniature. This is from Statuesque Miniatures, and yeah, she's quite a sexy sculpt. But yeah, no, I'm quite fond of this mini. I got hold of this mini from Bad Squiddo Games when she was selling off. Annie was selling off some of her sort of surplus stock from other manufacturers. Very nice mini, beautifully sculpted. I don't think she's currently available because the guy behind Statuesque has been kind of running down his stock because his sales haven't been that strong recently, and he's working on a new concept. But if you get along, Poppy. I think that might even be the name of the miniature, Dale. I think she might be called Poppy Come Lately or something like that. So, yeah, Poppy. I like Poppy. Poppy is going to be our leader, I think, in this one. She's also cylinder 3, and she's going to be a leader. Leaders get some bonus dice that they can spend. So, we've got an EWAP who is going to be trying to get in there and hack enemy synthetics and target the enemy. We've got Spectre, and Spectre is a super sneaky medium hard hitter. He's very mobile thanks to his stealthy trait. He can spend bonus actions on moving. He can spend as many bonus actions on moving as he likes, which means that he can be very, very mobile and get quite close. I think Poppy is going to be more hanging back and using her cautious moves to generate bonus actions for the other guys. But that also suggests that she might need to be the one that rushes up and heals anybody who's not well. So Angel's Acuity 5, so she's pretty good at medicing. Poppy, I think I need Poppy to be A5 as well, just in case there's a problem. She's gonna have to be D4, D3. I need her to be taking cautious moves, so we'll make her D4. That's 9. We got 6 left. Yeah, do you know, I'm gonna 3 and 3. I can't bring myself to go below 3 on mobility. That just doesn't feel right to me. Okay, so that's our 3 heroes. We've got Poppy, Angel, and Spectre. But let's now take a look at how you deploy the Red Force to get started. So first things first, we'll lay out our deployment marker. And in Zero Dark, you may have a deployment marker or an objective marker. Generally speaking, if you have an objective marker, it is also a deployment marker. But deployment marker is what you use to deploy the Red Force. This is 3 foot by 3 foot. So I'm going to put my deployment marker right in the middle. It's going to be this here. There we go. Okay, so this is a very, very, very simple mission. So our deployment marker goes down in the outside, and then we've got to work out who is in our Red Force. So the first thing we're going to have is 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to have 4 grunts. Okay, so my grunts are a mix of troopers from the Star Saga box set and old AT-43 Therians that act as my synthetic. So I've got 2 synthetic grunts and 2 human grunts. Okay, and the next thing is how many elites am I going to have? So the question is how many heroes have I got, which is 3. So I'm also going to have 3 elites. Okay, again, I've got a Therian with a heavy weapon, so that indicates he's an elite, and I've got 2 Star Saga, again, general troopers who've got heavy weapons. So they stand in well as elites. Okay, so 3 elites. And finally, we've got a boss. And for our boss, we are going to use Raging Annie from Bad Squiddo Games. So that is our starting Red Force. All right, so where are they going to deploy? Well, you have to imagine that there's a grid on the table, and it's a 12 by 12 grid running 1 to 12 and 1 to 12. And in the 6, 6 square is our deployment marker. And then to work out where I'm going to put everybody, I simply roll 2 12-sided dice. With one of them, let's say the yellow one is left to right, and the other, blue, is up and down. So if I roll left to right and up and down, I've got a 6 and a 3. So left to right, I'm going 6. So 6 we know is in the middle, right there. Up and down, we're going 3, and 3 is there. So we're going to put our first guy on 6, 3. 10, 5. So 10 is there, and 5 is there. And you'll notice I'm not super pernickety about where stuff goes. It's not that important. I got 12, 1. 12. 12, 1. Very interesting. Now, I could have done that with the terrain already laid out. In fact, I normally would do it with the terrain already laid out, but it just means it's that much easier for you guys to see what I'm doing and how quickly we can get deployed down. If we were deploying for this mission, normally you'd deploy the heroes first, because you don't get to decide, as the heroes, where the bad guys are deployed. But in this case, we've put the bad guys out first. I'm making life easy for myself. Going to bring the heroes in. They're going to come in this corner. And there I am ready to play. Now, I've got quite a dense deployment of terrain in this mission, but you don't need it. This isn't like Infinity, where the game doesn't work if you don't have vast amounts of terrain. Terrain's fun. It lends a degree of narrative to the game that you're playing. But you can play Zero Dark with very little terrain. You can play it with quite sparse terrain if you feel so inclined. It's not by any means a must-have. I'll play the first couple of cards, show you how it works, and then I will talk about some other stuff. Right, your deck of playing cards, you want a regular deck and 2 jokers. Right, okay, so the deck is shuffled. So my mission, in case you're wondering, what is my mission? I'm playing the simplest of missions in this game. My objective is simply to get here to the center. It is to interact with that target. That's going to be an interact Acuity 13 test, and then extract. And we don't know where we're going to extract yet. It's going to be off one of the sides, but I don't know which one until I get there. So, who's going to start up? Let's get our hero cards. Boom, boom, boom. Let's start with... Oh, so that's a good point. Spectre has a discipline of 5. So the first thing I get to do is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is I get to deal a deck of cards from the control deck. Also, everybody has 2 upgrades, which means I'm going to deal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards off the deck. Running down the clock, it's called. So we run down the clock by 6 cards. And I've got a deck of hands. Oh, that's pretty good. Look at that. I've got 3 aces, which means I've got 3 boss activations in my hand. That means 2 good things. 1, it means there's only 1 boss activation in there, so that boss is not going to be very active. And 2, it means I can activate the boss when it suits me. So my spook has clearly got some kind of an in with the boss here, and he is manipulating their behaviour. Okay, let's start with Spectre. Spectre is going to move. He's got a mobility of 4, discipline of 5. He's stealthy, so he's going to perform a cautious move of 4 inches. So now we work out his test for his cautious roll. So his move 4, we double it for 8. None of the bad guys have got line of sight. None of them was within 12 inches. So his test is against 8. He's got a discipline of 5, so I roll 5 dice with a target of 8. And I've got 8, 7 and 2, 10 and 3. So I've got 3 successes. So 1 will cancel the next control deck flip, which leaves me 2 more successes. I can use both of those for him to move again. He can move up to half of his mobility, which is 4. So he can move 2, and then he can move 2 again. You see what I mean about Spectre being highly mobile. Moved 8 inches, and it was cautious. Right, then he's finished his activation. We cancel the control deck flip, thanks to his cautious move. But we can see that it activates an elite. The nearest elite is down there. And that elite is going to perform his secondary action. We're going to use the secondary action, the alternative secondary action rules out of Operation Nemesis. And that says he's going to shoot the nearest target within 7 inches, which he cannot do because he has no targets. And therefore he is going to make a normal move. Oops. Which for an elite is 3 inches. It's going to be 3 inches that way. That's it for the Red Force. Next up, Poppy is going to make a cautious move as well. She's going to move 3. Oh, Poppy is a leader, of course. Good point. With a discipline of 4, which means she's got 4 re-rolls. So we'll pop those re-rolls on top of the Spooks cards. And try to remember to use them when they come up. So she can use up to 4 re-rolls. Right, Poppy is going to move 3. Stay out of sight. The bad guys. 3, 6, discipline 4. Oh, it's not a great roll. Got a 9, a 2, a 2, and a 1. So the 2, 2, and a 1 is not enough. So she's got 1 success. So we'll cancel the control deck flip. Activates the nearest grunt, which is this synthetic one right there. So that grunt is going to move 3 inches towards the nearest hero, in case you're wondering. Okay, and then important point to note in Zero Dark, by the way, is I don't have to activate all of my guys in order. So I've activated Spectre, I've activated Poppy, and now we've got Angel, but I don't have to activate Angel. I could go back and activate Spectre or Poppy again if I wanted to. But I do want to activate Angel, and I would like her to perform a normal move. She's got a move of 4, so she can move up to 8. She's going to make a normal move out of sight there. But because it's a normal move, she doesn't get to try and cancel the control deck flip. It is an elite technical action. So we activate the nearest elite, which is, yes, still this one. Right, the active bogey gains a support token. So we'll go in with the tokens. Gains a support token. And the nearest non-targeted character becomes targeted. Which is not a great thing, but he is out of line of sight at the moment, which is good. Yep, that's all that happens. And then he gets a secondary action. 1, he moves 1 inch. Okay. The secondary action rules, by the way, if you've not come across them in Operation Nemesis, because you've not bought Operation Nemesis, well, number 1, please buy Operation Nemesis. Number 2, if you don't want to buy Operation Nemesis, you can get the 2020 rules update on Wargame Vault, and that has these rules in it. But to save you the journey, you roll a d12. If the result is 1 to 6, the bogey moves that far in inches towards the nearest character. If it is 7 to 11, the bogey shoots at the nearest character in line of sight within that range. So 7 to 11 inches. If they don't have anybody in line of sight or in range, instead they make a normal move, which is 2 inches for a grunt and 3 inches for an elite or a boss. And if they roll 12, they do secondary actions 12. Moves 6 inches towards the nearest hero, then shoots the nearest character within 12 inches. There we go. So yes, move and shoot. Exactly what I thought. Yep. Oh, and then you identify the bogey nearest the active bogey and immediately roll again for this bogey. Cool. So you activate 2 bogeys and they do lots of moving and shooting. So you don't want to roll a 12 on the secondary action. Very nasty. Okay, so Angel's done. That bogey's done. Back around. This guy is targeted. Now, this is a thing that people sometimes forget. I personally sometimes forget. But there is a rule in here about the targeted state and how you get rid of it. I'm going to make sure I get it right. Characters can remove, this is page 22 in the rulebook, characters can remove their targeted state by spending an action out of line of sight of any bogey or enemy character and passing a D13 test. So he's targeted, he doesn't want to be targeted, that's exactly what he's going to do. He's already out of line of sight of any enemy character. He's got a discipline of 5, so he's going to make a D13 test. Okay? D13 test. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's very good. Wow. Okay, so I've got 7, 7, 8, 12 and 12. So 12 and 7, 12 and 7, 8 does nothing. So I had a target of 13, 12 and 7 is 1 success, 12 and 7 is another success, and the 12s add 2 successes. So I've got 4 successes. So 1 success removes his targeted state, and I've got 3 more successes. which means they can be used for bonus actions. So he can move and shoot. And if he's ever so clever, ooh, might get away with that. Okay, so he's going to make a 2-inch move to there, where he has line of sight on that elite. Now that elite has got a support token on him, so he's going to be hard to take down, but I'm going to use my last bonus action to try. How many I had? 4. Oh, okay, I've got... okay. Oh, good. Yeah, no, this works. Okay, so I'm going to try and shoot that guy. Range is 7 inches. 7. Oh, I didn't tell you this. Visibility. Visibility is 3. Okay, so 7 plus 3 is 10. That guy's got no cover worth speaking about. So it's a target of 10 plus his defense of 2. He's an elite. So 10, 11, 12. So 12 on Spectre's got 5 to 4. 12 on 4 dice. Looking for 12s. And we've got 10 and 4, 11 and 5. So I've got 2 hits, which normally on an elite would be enough to put one down, but this guy's got a support token. So the support token goes. Damn it. But the rest of the shooting has no effect. However, he did have 2 hits, so that's 24 inches, which means everybody who is within 24 inches, which is absolutely everybody, is now alert. Okay, so all the bogeys are now alert. Now, he's finished that bonus action in line of sight of that guy, but he's got 1 bonus action left, and he's stealthy. So he can use as many bonus actions as he likes on movement, which means he can immediately make another 2-inch move back out of line of sight. Only stealthy characters can do that. Okay. But he was not being stealthy, so there is still a command to... Oh, and it's the elite. It's an elite command action. Has he got line of sight? No. If the actor does not have line of sight, the bogey moves towards the nearest hero and gains a support token. So immediately moves 3 inches, which is about that far, towards the nearest hero, which is Spectre. He gains the support token back that he just lost, and he still has a secondary action, which is... well, it's a 7. He doesn't have line of sight, so he's going to move another 3 inches. Now he's close. Now he's close. Oh. Shall we resolve one more action? Shall we see if Spectre can take him down before we finish this this part of the live stream this week? Okay, I've got some rerolls here, and I've got some cards here. So I think I might be using these now. See, Spectre could try and use a short, stealthy move. I think he's going to do that. Okay, so he's going to go 1 inch. He's going to move 1 inch, which means this guy basically no longer has cover. The range is a whole 2 inches, plus 3 for 5, plus 2 because he's an elite, 7. So he's now leading 7s on 4 dice. But he's not shooting yet because he's just made a stealthy move. So the first thing he has to do is see whether he can shoot him. So we'll come back to the shooting in a second. He moved 1 plus 2. 3, 4, 5. Anybody else within 12 inches? No. 5. He's lucky. So 5s on 5 dice. We should be good. 5, 6, 10, and 2 and 4. So that is 4 successes. 1 straight away goes to there. So you've got 3 successes left. 1 of them is going to be used to immediately shoot. We just established that it was 7s. And I've got, so I needed 7s. So I've got 6, 3, 8, and 9. So I'm going to take the 8 and 9 because they're both successes. I'm going to take the 6 and 3, and I'm going to re-roll the 6 and the 3. And that's a 10 and a 4. I won't push my luck any further. So I've got 3 hits, which is enough to remove his support token for 1 hit, put him down for 2 hits. And now I've still got, if you remember, I had 4 successes on my stealth move. I use 1 to cancel the activate the card, the control deck card. 2 to shoot. I've got 2 left. So with that, I can move 1 inch to engage with the down bogey. Boop. And I have 1 last thing I can do, which is to just kill a down bogey. So shunk, sliced his throat. He is dead. And we have resolved that action. And we used 2 of our reroll dice and none of our cards. Don't need to use the card now. Let's resolve that. Okay, that is cancelled, but it activates the nearest grunt, which is this guy here, with an attack action. And the grunt does, in fact, just about have a line of sight. Okay, so he's got a line of sight. Okay, so he's got an attack actions. If the attack bogey has line of sight, he does. Then the bogey attacks the nearest character who's not out of action and to which he can draw a line of sight. Yes, he will. And then he moves towards the nearest character in line of sight who is not out of action. So he will attack him. He's not got a huge chance. He's got 2 dice, attack of 2. We've got a range of 10, plus 3 for visibility, which is 13, plus 2 for his armor, which is 15, plus... we'll give him plus 3 for cover because I'm feeling good to myself. So that's 18. So he needs 18 on 2 dice. And he's rolled a 10 and a 2. He's missed. But Spectre still needs to make his stress test. Spectre has a discipline of 5, target of 10, and he's not in any way wounded. So he's got 11, 9 and 2, 7 and 7. So we've got 1, 2, 3 successes. So 1, he passes his stress test. With his second bonus action, remember this is all still the Red Force activation. This second bonus action, he is going to shoot that bogey. Why the heck not? We've just established the range was 10, plus 3 is 13. That bogey's definitely got cover 16 and defense of 1, 17 on 4 dice. Oh, that's good. We've got a 12 and a 10, and I can't make it. And we got an 11 and a 2. I can't make 3 hits. So the 10 and the 12, 10 and the 2. What did I needed? 17, didn't I? Whatever. It's 2 hits, which means that bogey is down for 1 and dead for 2, which is great news. And he's got a bonus action left, so he will move 2 inches back out of sight. And that's the end of the Red Force activation, and it's back to the heroes. Right, okay, so I showed you a couple of things earlier. So one thing I showed you was the dice tray, and the other thing I showed you was the notebook. Okay, I do have a few of these notebooks left if anybody watching would like one. Really, a handful, but I might order some more. This is currently a one-off, but I would like to expand the range of available Precinct Omega merch. First thing I am doing is t-shirts. If you're on the Patreon, you may already have seen the post this morning to say I am now setting up a t-shirt shop at precinctomega.tmill, TEEMILL.com. Tmill is a UK-based manufacturer. They source 100% of their cotton is organic. It is ethically and sustainably sourced from a growing community, growing cooperative in India. It is shipped as sustainably as possible, and they have a whole video on their website about how that's done. And then the t-shirts are manufactured and printed in the UK. So I'm going to be setting up a range of t-shirts over the next couple of weeks. It'll be patrons only for the first 2 weeks. Once we've sort of settled down, worked out which designs people like, which ones they don't like, and any ideas that patrons would like to see in the t-shirt shop, I will settle that up And of course, once it has settled in, I will order in a whole bunch of t-shirts and I will be wearing them here on the podcast, on the live stream. This t-shirt that I'm wearing today is an old Macrocosm Miniatures t-shirt that I got when I bought the Bull Monsters from them, which is why it's got a picture of a Bull Monster on. But I will try and replicate this as well. We'll get some Bull Monsters t-shirts as well as some Precinct Omega and Zero Dark and Infinite Dark t-shirts. So, watch for more merch coming shortly from Precinct Omega. If you'd like one, let me know. If you're not in the Patreon, I will give you a code to get into the shop so that you can go and shop if you want one. If you are in the Patreon, get on the code, get on the post today. The code is in there and you can follow the link through to the shop. Right, that's all I've got to say. It is 3 o'clock, so I shall bid you all adieu and have a fantastic weekend, and I will speak to you all again next week.